You've got good predicted grades, 3 A's, maybe even 4. You've been revising for a few months now and you wholeheartedly believe that it's enough to get you into medical school. Well, it's not. And the worst part about this, thousands of students are knocked down by this every single year by a rejection email from UCAS. 5 years of working towards one goal and revising profusely just to be hit with a rejection. Now, I'm not saying this to indict fear into you. I'm saying this because your teachers and peers will not tell you directly. And if you're serious about applying to medicine or dent in the UK, then you need to hear this before you send off that UCAS application. In this video, I will show you exactly why the grades alone are not getting you an admission, what actually does, and what to do right now to ensure you're sitting in a lecture hall next September. Before we get into that, if you don't know who I am, I just finished my first year of dentistry at University of Manchester. I got pretty much all A's and A stars in my A-levels and GCSEs, and for the past 3 years I've been helping students get into medical and dental school online. Now let's start off with some numbers here. 20 to 30k applications to med school and 9k places only each year. 10k applied to dentistry with only 1,000 places. 15 applicants to 1 place in dentistry. Pretty much all of those applicants already have or have been predicted at least 3 A's at A-levels, if not more. Grades are clearly not a differentiator here, simply a minimum requirement to be used as a filtering students by universities. 3A simply allows you to apply in the first place. Getting 3A's is like having Pokemon with perfect IVs, which is necessary if you're going to compete in VGC Nationals, but so does literally every person who's registered, because no one shows up to Pokemon tournaments with low IVs. Either way, ignore the Pokemon and the suboptimal IVs. What makes it even worse is that your whole life, your parents and teachers have been telling you that working hard and getting good grades will open doors and will then be rewarded with success. This really just isn't the case in medicine and dentistry. Medicine is oversubscribed by a factor of 3 and dentistry oversubscribed by a factor of 15. Almost every single applicant has been an academic weapon their whole lives, cruising through top set in each and every subject. In my own case, I was getting predicted all A stars and having the highest grade in my sixth form, and this actually almost costed me my application to dentistry due to the fact that I ended up becoming arrogant and developing an ego, and I took far too much pride in my test grades. I remember after my UCAT, another girl who had done the UCAT in my year asked me what I got, and I told her I got more than her without even knowing what she got. The ego was just on a whole nother level, to the point where it caused me to neglect other important parts of my application, such as the interview. And this actually caused my first interview at Queen Mary to go absolutely horribly. Queen Mary, what they do is for dentistry interviews, they send you an extract that you're meant to read before the interview. And I didn't even read the extract. I walked into the interview with the extract on my phone, scrolling through it. The interviewer asks me what my opinion is on fluoride affecting dental caries. And I asked him, what are dental caries? What kind of person applying to dentistry does not know what dental caries are? And I completely whiffed that interview and got rejected. In the meantime, I managed to do a lot of mock interview practice, and I put my ego to the side, and I was able to get admission to University of Manchester, and I gave a much better interview. But the real thing to learn here is that the question you need to be asking yourself isn't, are my grades good enough? The question you need to ask yourself is, what am I doing that other applicants with the same grades are not? Now, one thing I feel like I need to talk about in this video is something that I've noticed in every single student I've helped over the years, and it's how they've misunderstood their work experience. They treat it as a tick box for an application. They shadow a GP or whatever for a week, whether it's a care home, a GP, in a dental practice. They put it on their personal statement, call it in, and think that they've done enough. It's not enough. The purpose of the work experience is to give you something to reflect on and build an insider information and knowledge of the future careers in medicine and dentistry. Unis want to see a mature understanding of difficulty, emotional weight, ethical complexity, and teamwork in a medical or dental environment. This can only be demonstrated if you pay attention to the correct things in the clinical environment. Ask questions, don't just observe in your work experience. If you've noticed, for example, a nurse calming down a patient and de-escalating a situation, you need to notice that, write it down in your notes, and reflect on it and see how you can mention it in your interviews or in your personal statement. If you've seen a consultant handle a ward round extremely well and deal with varied patients, then you can write that down. You need to notice these good things. An example of a student who does poorly would be not noting down anything, simply clocking in, checking through the hours of the work experience, going home and calling it a day. Now, if you haven't started work experience yet, start now. And if you haven't, go back through it in your head and ask yourself, what exactly did I notice? What exactly did I learn? What changed about how I see medicine? Because that's what needs to be ending up on your application, in your personal statement, and in your interviews, not just I did work experience. Now let me tell you about the students who do get in. First off, they started early, not the month before the UCAS application opens, not the summer after their AS exams, like some of you just doing would have finished. The students who get strong offers are always thinking about their application 12 to 18 months before they even apply. They're doing work experience with enough time to reflect on it, they're preparing for the UCAT before the summer of year 13, and they're thinking about their personal statement while they still have time to go back and get better experiences. Secondly, they treat the application like a project and not like an exam. In an exam, you revise for it, you sit the exam. An application unfolds over a year, and every decision you make during that year either strengthens it or it weakens it. The students who get in are managing their application like a project, tracking what they need, identifying their weak points, and improving systematically over a period of at least a year. Thirdly, they set feedback, not from their parents, not from their friends, from people who actually know what a competitive application looks like. One of the most consistent things I see in students that get rejected is that no one with relevant experience ever read their personal statements critically. They showed it to an English teacher who fixed the grammar and called it a good day, all right? You need to pinpoint target different weaknesses in your application, adjust it appropriately for the course that you're applying for. Lastly, they prepare for mock interviews like it's a separate skill, because it really just is. MMI circuits are like a skill that can be learned and practiced, okay? If you walk into an interview and you've done dozens of mock scenarios, you're going to be a completely different caliber to the students who have just done a few sample questions on Reddit the night before. None of this is actually about being smarter, it's simply about being more prepared, more strategic, and more honest with yourself about where your application is weak so you can develop and make the necessary iterations to get your application through and get an admission. Okay, chances are you're watching this and realizing that your application really just isn't where it needs to be right now. So I'm going to give you 4 steps in exactly what I would do if I was in your position. Okay, step 1, audit your application honestly. You want to sit down and go through every single component of your application. Grades, UCAT, work experience, personal statement, interviews, and score yourself out of 10 on each and every one. Not how you feel about it, but how it would look to an admissions tutor who's seen tens of thousands of applications. Where are the gaps in your knowledge? Where are the gaps? Where are the weaknesses? And you need to decide exactly what you need to improve on now. Now, step 2 is to prioritize by timeline. If you're sitting the UCAT in the next 2 to 3 months, which you probably will be since it's coming up in this summer, that takes priority because the score is fixed once you sit it, okay? If you haven't started your personal statement and UCAS open soon, that will take priority and that's urgent. If you've got 12 months before you apply, I'd say start working on your work experience and interview prep, as they have a lot more time to develop. The order matters in how you do things, okay? Step 3 would be to get an outsider's perspective. Show your personal statement to someone who actually knows what a competitive one looks like. Do mock interviews with someone who can give you real feedback, not just encouragement and not just glazing you the whole time. The gap between how you think your application looks and how it actually looks to an admissions tutor or someone who's familiar with the admissions process like me will be enormous. You can't close that gap if everyone around you is being kind instead of honest, okay? Now the last step, step 4, is stop waiting for your school to guide you. Chances are your sixth form doesn't actually have that many people applying to medicine or dentistry each year. Mine only had 2 people applying in my year, okay? And the advice they give you is not going to be that focused on getting into medicine or dentistry. The advice that your teachers will give you will be more focused towards A-levels, and no one in that building is an expert on the UCAS application to medicine or dentistry. You are going to have to take ownership of the application yourself, okay? You cannot rely on your teachers, and you need to start actively thinking how you yourself are going to make sure you get into medicine or dentistry. Okay, so in conclusion, 3 A's will get you to the starting line, but that's about it, okay? Everything from that is like a multi-step process in your dentistry or medicine application in the UK, okay? Students who get in competitive years are the ones who understand early and plan accordingly and get the right help at the right time and were honest about themselves with their weaknesses and created the right iterations needed to smash their applications, okay? If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is, okay? Applying to medicine and dentistry in the UK is not easy, but it's completely learnable over time. Every single aspect of a strong application, it's a skill. It's not actually something that, it's not some natural innate talent, okay? You can build your skills and you can improve over time and guarantee yourself an application. If you want to go deeper in on any of this, the UCAT, personal statement, interview prep, how to actually start and structure your year 12 and 13 revision plans around your application, I've got a free community where I share everything I know. The link is in the description. Come in, introduce yourself, tell me where you are in the process, and I'll pinpoint you in the right direction, okay? And it's got all the resources you need. If you're at a point where you want structured one-to-one support and you want to go into your application knowing every component is as strong as it could be, that's what I do. Details are in the description as well, okay? Subscribe if this was useful. Next video is going to be equally direct. I'll see you there.